הנני העוני ממעש, נירש ונפחד, מפחד יושב תהילוס ישראל. We're going to learn today one of the hardest sugyas in Shas. I don't know why Reb Shlomo decided to choose this hard sugya. If oni ha-mehapach becharora and yered lu'umnusi shel chaveiroi. But it's negea to everyone every day. You're right, you could become a Rasha, you could be a Noyef, but it's negea to all of us every day. And we have to know the Maisa, what to do, not just to speak about one echetimtza here, one echetimtza. We have to know what to do le Maisa when it comes le Maisa. I want to speak a couple examples that are negea le Maisa, that duch the sugyas, Bez Hashem, we'll try to touch. The first shaila that is negea to everyone, like myself, I don't have nursing homes, I don't have all the other shailas, that we'll get in a second to these shailas. But I go around to collect money from my yeshiva. They tell me, Yankel, I know Yankel, he gives to Atzola $50,000. His meiser is $100,000. He gives every year to Atzola $50,000. He gives to Chai Life another $30,000. And 20 he gives to Lakewood, just for example. And they mamish mehapach becharora, they send him mishloach mones with Tu Bishvat. They mehapach becharora. Unbelievable mehapach becharora. Wait. Now I want to come and to convince him to give to my yeshiva. So I'm going to America. I found out Yankel is the Gvir. But his money is given out. I want to go to convince him now Das Aaron is the best place. This is what I believe in. I'm allowed to or not? Lakewood comes over, mehapach becharora. Hatzolah says, mehapach becharora. Maisim shebechol yoim, that we do it. And I spoke to the basin of Reb Nissan Karelitz a couple hours ago. I went over all of the halachas and they told me, for sure you're allowed to. I said, why? What is the difference of Oni ha-mehapach becharora? He wants to get the charora from the Oshir. He wants to get the charora from the Oshir. The Oshir gives out charoras. And we tell him, Oni ha-mehapach becharora is also, we'll see soon, Rashi Teisves. So why here you're allowed to?
Every dollar is new charora. Not the same charora. The next tomorrow's dollar is new charora.
The next shaila we'll discuss today, Be'ezus Hashem, what Reb Moshe brings down in Even HaEzer. A person is in the middle of dating a girl. And Reb Moshe holds, Meshunah de Kechidush of Reb Moshe, I'm allowed to go in the middle of the date, to go over and tell him, you're dating this girl, I have a much better girl for you. Nicer, more money, more yichus. Reb Moshe says you're allowed to. And it sounds like a scandal. The third shaila we will discuss, this is what Reb Moshe brings down in Shuvah. This we have already in the book in 191. The Rebbe that opened the shul in a community in America, he had mispalalim, gemacht a parnusse von them. And some people decided they don't like this minyan. He was davening Sfarad. They wanted to daven Ashkenaz. The Rebbe gave some drush. They didn't like it. They wanted pilpul. They opened another shul. Reb Moshe says they have a din of Oni ha-mehapach becharora and they have a din of Yored and they're not allowed to open the new shul. They told him, we can't daven the nusach. He said, so what? He said, you have a sitter. To be over and Oni ha-mehapach becharora because you can't daven nusach Sfarad? Azay Paskin Reb Moshe, it's printed in the book in 191, and it's a modne tshuva. But this is what Reb Moshe finds in Paskins. And Reb Moshe says in that tshuva, not only that the Oni ha-mehapach becharora and the Yere Lum Nusay of the Rebbe, They answered him, listen, not everyone will come. The Rebbe will have some Mispalalim. So Rav Moshe said, but he has to have a parnosa b'derech memutza, beinani. He will have a little bit Mispalalim. You're not allowed to. Why? Rav Moshe says, for two reasons. One reason Rav Moshe says that the halacha that you're allowed to be, l'chura, we'll ask the question. L'chura, it's mamish like a person that has a store, and the other person opens a store. That the Gemara says in Baba Basra, we pass in like Ravuna Bareda Rabbi Yeshua. We'll get to it soon. That a bar mevoah is allowed to open if he has a fish store, and I'm in the same mavui. I'm also allowed to open a fish store. So why are you not allowed to? Zogt Reb Moshe, the reason the other people are not allowed to open the other shul, because the Moldche and the Rimigash, the Moldche brings down, in Siman Tov Kuf Zayin, we have it in page 82, that the halacha is, you have a movui, a street, like a ches. So the halacha is every time when you have a movui, the Ozer Bar Mevoeh is allowed to open a store. You live in 15th Avenue, well later we'll speak about that 13th Avenue, it's different, but you live in 15th Avenue, and the other person also wants to open a store, you're allowed to. What would it be if the mavui is like a ches? And the store that the person has, the fish store, is inside the mavui, inside the ches, near the head of the ches. The new person wants to open a store in the beginning of the mavui. Everyone that walks through that store. So the Moldche brings down, and Simen Tov, Kuftet Zayin, B'Shem Avi Yosef, that you're not allowed to. Now, there's different ways to understand Pshat in the Moldche, but we will speak now the way the Poshet the Pshat, what some Achronim learn Pshat in the Moldche, that it's because everyone will stop in the first store, and no one will buy in the other store. So even the halacha that Ben Mevoah is allowed to open, Rashi says, if they want, they will buy by me, and if they want, they will buy by you. Here, everyone will buy in the other person. So b'meile, while everyone will buy in the other person, no one will buy in the inside store, so posakto lechiyusi legamri. That is one pshat. This is the way the Ramo and Darkei Moshe learns pshat in Avi Yosef. Also, we have a Rimigash like that. The Rimigash learns, what the Gemara answers, Marchikim mitzudas hadag, min hadag. And the Gemara wants to bring a raya that you're not allowed to open a store. And the Gemara answers, Shaini osom de yahiv Sara. And the Rimigash learns, what page is the Rimigash? 68. Zog the Rimigash, you know why you're not allowed to? Because everyone will go to the second guy that will chop the fish, and posakto lechiyuse legamri. So when you posakto lechiyuse legamri, when you knock the other person out, even that normally you're allowed to open another store in the same place, here you're not allowed to. Zog Reb Moshe, if the second shul opens, the first shul will not have enough mispalalim, even that they will have a small minyan, but it will not be enough membership to pay the rabbi, the rebbe, his salary. You're not allowed to open the other shul. We'll see later that it's not so pashut, but this is the psak of Reb Moshe. Reb Moshe adds in the tshuva, and we'll need it for later, he says a big chiddush. He says, even if a person is allowed to open a store, is because you have a store of fish. I also want to have a store of fish. Du hast parnose, I have parnose. Keloshen ayad rama. Maish no de chayish lechiyusa didoch velo chayish es lechiyusa didi. Because you were first, I need parnose and you need parnose. Remember that, because we'll see all the new psokim in our generation that everything changes from what we learned in the Gemara. Is based on these kind of svara. You need business, I need business. Zog Reb Moshe, the second people did not open a shul because they were looking for parnasa. They just didn't like Nusach Sfarad. This is stam you're not allowed to. The Rebbe has a parnasa, you want to take away his parnasa, not because no one is, you forget, you're looking for a rabbi to come. No. What? then that kol sheken of Reb Moshe will not exist. But the first reason Posakta the Yusuf will say, I'm saying, I know it's the whole lake when everyone is opening shuls. We'll speak. There's a lot of different problems there. We'll try to fix. We'll try to fix the problems. But this is the chiddush of Reb Moshe. Not everyone agrees.
Every only on the opposite of Sarora, when you mock your by Malcolm Hefker, let's say.
Right. So here, very good. What's your first name? I forgot. What's your first name? Reb Aaron. So Reb Aaron is asking, every only amapech becharoro. I'm taking away completely his business. So I will explain. It's early in this year, but I will explain. We have two sugyas. Oni amapech becharoro veyoyred leumnusei shel chaveiroi. There are two sugyas. Oni amapech becharoro. It's your business. You found a diamond. You're trying to take the diamond. I'm also trying to take the diamond. But your parnasa is not the diamond. So there is one sugya. As another sugya, your parnasa is selling fish. I'm taking away your parnasa by opening a store. Now I want to explain the difference of the two sugyas. I want to do it later, but because you brought up the question, I will explain the difference. Be'oni ha'me'apech becharoro and yored leumnuso. Yored leumnuso, in one way, it's terrible. You're killing the person's life. You're killing his life. Me'apech becharoro, you're not killing his life. In the other way, me'apech becharoro is worse from yored leumnusoi. Why? Yored leumnusoi, I'm opening a store. I'm not shopping by you. I'm not walking into your store and pulling out customers. I just opened the store. Choice for everyone. Only I took in my hands what you wanted to take. In the case of the Rebbe, of Reb Moshe, is two things are happening together. Maybe not even. Only but it's not mamish only because I didn't go to convince. I just opened another store. There, it's more like yored leumnusei shel chaveiroi. I opened another shul, and people stopped to daven in the first shul, and they're davening in the second shul. So now, the first people will pay membership in the first shul, and now that I open another shul, they stopped davening there. The minute they stopped paying membership, so this is mamish like yored leumnusei shel chaveiroi. And there is a klal that two people are allowed to do. If they live in the same city, they're allowed to do two stores. Zog Reb Moshe, it's only when the other person will also have a parnasa. But if the other person will be shut down, you have an isur of yored leumnusei shel chaveiroi. And that he bought two rayas. One raya from Avi Asaf, where the Motre brings down a shita that you're not allowed to open if the movie is a movie sogu, like a ches, and you have a store in the outside, and he has a store in the inside. And if you're opening a store in the outside, no one will go in.
What about people living in the movie?
What?
People living deep in the movie will be his customers.
If he has enough customers. Obviously, it's not enough customers. It's 3 or 4 people there.
But the Matcha says lo yidei kechavim. Matcha uses the lashon lo yidei kechavim electronics.
I will check it in a second. We'll check it in a second. The second raya is the Rimigash. The Rimigash learns why Marchikim Mitzuda Sadag shiny dogim the Yahiv Siyare. Well, later we'll see the Gemara. So the Rimigash says, because there you paske lechayuse legamri. And Reb Moshe in the Tshuva adds that legamri doesn't mean that he doesn't have $1. If he doesn't have, and people in his position, and a beinoni parnose, thus is called posakto lechayuse, and he paskins that it's also to go to that shul, and it's also to open the shul. This was a psak of Reb Moshe. I don't know if America, in Israel I know we follow Reb Moshe. I don't know in America. But in Israel I know we follow Reb Moshe. Yeah, you can see it, you have it. What? Can hear. Okay, we'll get to that. I'll bring you the shaila where it was nogea to mi lemaise. I have a Talmud that lives in Toronto. He almost became a multimillionaire. Almost. If he would become, I would not need no one here. I will tell you what was his business. He invested in a greenhouse. It was like, they built a building like 5 acres, 30 floors. Every floor a foot and a half, the height of the floor. They put a kind of rock, it's called bazelet, I don't know exactly how they call it in English. Now, it's no mud, it's like a rock, it's a kind of, something that comes from a volcano, with water. What? Something like that, I don't have to. Something with a volcano, yeah. Now, what happened there is, if a normal vegetable grows twice a year, there every month it produces the whole thing. So it means in 30 floors, that every floor is a foot and a half, they had 5 acres, every building, times 30, times 12. No workers, machine cuts it, puts it down. Now, the mila was that it's clean, you don't have to have no chemicals, no bugs. I myself ate from these vegetables. Before Shemitah, the Badats already came to an agreement with them that they will buy all of the green leaves for the Moroich and Eretz Yisrael. The Kashas of Lakewood came down. I had a big machlekes with Reb Shlomo Miller because I think the brocha is shahakol and you can't be Yotzei Moroich, and he said you could be Yotzei Moroich, but I'm not going now to that shaila. Not going to the shaila. I ate it, it was very good. I got a phone call when I was there in Toronto, 2.5 years ago. You the Rebbe of? I said, yes. I'm Mrs., I'm sure some people if they're here from Toronto know who she is. I'm selling for 30 years green leaves washed and cleaned for Pesach. I charge 12 Canadian dollars for a package. This guy, it's a Goshen company all over the world, for that box, the same size, $6. If this product comes out, I'm out. I'm out. Can't marry off my kids. I don't have $1 to live tomorrow. I don't want it to open. I don't want it to open. I told him he's allowed to. He's allowed to. I made the story short. The last checkup of one of the big kashas from Baltimore came over, and it was check number 9, and they found 2 bugs. Came, and after 5 days, the whole place was full with bugs, with 2 little holes. They went bankrupt. But even so, I'm staying with my psak that he's allowed to. They're trying to invest now, new investors. But I'm not here for representing, I'm not here to represent the product. And the shaila is lemaisa. You're allowed to, you're not allowed to. One more shaila I want to discuss. I got a phone call 3 weeks ago from someone the name of Aaron. I don't want to say his last name. He lives in Far Rockaway. He has a phone and computer system. His koyach is the service that he gives. He gives service, your phone, you have a problem, it's the hardest thing to get service. That is his koyach. And he's growing, and I get a phone call. I had one of my customers, one of his homes, collapse in the middle of the night. I worked till the morning to give him service. I finished to give him service in the morning. He came over to me, he said, I'm so impressed. Listen, I have 6 big homes. Here's a proposal. I was planning to change all the computer systems. It's a very big proposal of a yid. For such a nice service, I want to give it to you. He called me, I'm allowed to take it. The other person was mehapach b'charora. I'm allowed to take it or not? Yes or no? I'm getting you a phone call. You have to answer. Yes or no? I'm not saying what you will do. You will take it. But I'm asking you if you're allowed to or not. That is the shaila. Right, very good, very good. And the second question, if he takes it, if he has to pay the money for the guy that invested in the proposal, the guy made a proper proposal. He invested hours and workers to check everything.
Why can't he take it? He's like the malamed. guy wants the Malamed because I didn't get
No. And the guy doesn't want him because he will give a better service for the houses. He wants to give him the job. Because he did a good job from yesterday night.
he proved himself.
Yeah. No, I'm saying not because he thinks that the other guy will not give the service. Here it's changing materials, not to get the service. But I'm not you nice to me. I want to be nice to you. I have a big project. It's $20 million profit. I want to give it to you. Why to give it to Yankel? I worked with Yankel for 20 years. He made a nice proposal. Yesterday he made me a favor. He wants to know if he's allowed to or not. He just wants to sleep. He wants to enjoy the money and to know if he's doing the right thing or not.
He's not the one initiating.
Mitsuya. So I asked the basin of Nissan Karelitz, because I had Megias that he will get the job. Yeah. So I didn't want to pass it myself. So I asked the basin of Nissan Karelitz, and they said that because I did not come to Initial to ask him to give me the job, he himself came to give me the job. So we have the Tshuvas Chavis Yoir and Simen Chav Beis that we will learn soon in the Marshal and Simen Lamed Vov and the Sma. That you're allowed to. Because he came over to me, I'm allowed to. We'll see later what is the lumdus. I will show you so much nafkaminas, you understand why when he came over to me, I'm allowed to. And I will give you the two tzdodim. One tzad that the new Rabbonim want to taina. Maybe first I'll say the regular tzad, what was in Klal Yisrael till now. Till now, what is brought down in the Poiskim, the reason I'm allowed to, I'm not allowed to go over to take. I'm not allowed to be yoyred leumnusa shel chaveiroi. But if he wants to give me, he's allowed to do what he wants. I'm not mehapich becharoro. Second svara, and Mr. Hashem will build it up today, the owner of the place has a right to do what he wants. It can't be because there's a halacha of oni mehapich becharoro, an owner is not allowed to give business to someone else. He's working with someone for 30 years. The last trip that he went to Africa, he became friendly with someone, and he wants to give him the business. Saying two svaras. One svara is, only a mehapech, we'll see later a lot of nafkaminas, is only if I walk into him. I'm yoyred in leum nusay. Someone, no problem bichlal. Second svara, and on that will build a lot of halachas, especially in our way of business. I'm owning nursing homes. I own homes. I want now to give it to someone that I like. What? I'm meshubah to the halacha of only a mehapech becharoro. I'm meshubah to the halacha of yoyred leumnusa shel chaveiro. It's mine. I can do what I want with my products. It's two different svaras. We'll see later. There's a lot of nafkaminas. The next shiloh we're discussing, and that is really what is negea. I have a nursing home. And I have insurance, I have medical billing, I sell candy machines, I have all the things. A friend of mine decides, now he's in nursing home, he comes over to me, Yankel, please give me all of your nursing homes. He's allowed to do that or not? I have 50 nursing homes. My friend has one nursing home now, he starts to do medical billing. Till now I gave it to Yankel. Zog my friend, ma akhpat lecha, give it to me. If I want myself to go over, we said I'm allowed to. But I didn't go over to him. He comes over to me and he says, please give me the business. He's yoyred leumnusa shel chaveiroi. He's only a mehapech becharoro or not. Ma'asim shebechol yoyim, that this is what the whole way, the whole new rich people became rich like this.
My problem is with Iver. I mean, what's my problem as a balabos?
No, not as balabos. I'm asking you if he's allowed to approach you. If you're the, yeah. No, what? Maybe. And I want to explain the shaila is negea and two echetimtzes. If I'm asking him to break the contract, break your contract with the other person, will cost you $2 million, don't worry, but I need your business. It's worth for me that you will lose. I will pay the $2 million that you're losing. But I want you to break and to move it over to me. As a place, no. When you finish next year, instead of redoing the lease, then give it to me. These are the two shilas. And it's divided to another two. When I'm giving him a cheaper deal, and I want to explain, it could be three ways. No cheaper deal. Just, you're anyway paying $1 million to your uncle? You're my friend. Pay me the $1 million. I'm not asking you to gain nothing. Just a favor. You're my friend. Give me your insurance, your medical billing, your cleaning company for your houses, your machine company, all these things. Give me them. As another way, you're asking him to give it to you cheaper. What do you mean 50-50? I'm just not hearing clear. So we'll discuss it. But there's another case, and that we'll see. Most times you're allowed to. A lot of times what is happening in our days, so if the guy says, listen, come over to me, Stam, I'll give you a cheaper deal, a better deal. We have a new zach that is happening now in America, and the young guys, a lot of them are talmidim of mine, but it doesn't make a difference now. Is a new zach. I have 50 nursing homes. I pay insurance, every building, I pay $1 million. I get a good lease. I'm coming to my friend that has another 15 nursing homes, and I'm telling him, listen, give me the insurance of all of your buildings. I will make it to you cost price. $750. What I'm gaining from this, I'm not gaining nothing. What I'm gaining is that I have 100 homes. And when I have 100 homes, the insurance company gives me a good deal. I'm not giving you no profit. You anyway have to pay $1 million. I'm giving you now for $750. Why? Not because I will make the $250. I will not make no commission on you. I'm not trying to make commission. But I want to be a guy that has 100 nursing homes. I get much better deals. So I'm breaking the market. I'm telling people, you will give it to me in cost price. I will not make money on you, but I will make money that because I have 100 nursing homes, I get a better deal from the insurance company. Now people were going in the show in Miami. Everyone, I have 50 homes, 30 homes. You'll see all these guys, this is the way they go running around there. I found out so they don't have even one. But but what is the idea? I could say I have 50. What? No, he's not stealing. He's really giving him 100%. No, I'm representing 100. I'm not saying, I'm not lying. I'm representing 100 nursing homes.
What does it matter the motivation of the one who's giving the lower price? Whether he's giving it.
That is the shaila.
So why sit there that halacha? So whatever.
But that is the shaila. But Moshe could be that has to be arvocha in that. Could be that what Chazal said that I have a right. I also have a right to make money. But if I have, but by having you out, this is the shaila we'll have to discuss. And the other shaila that we'll have to discuss, and I want really to start to go into the point, is to take workers. Today, especially in the last 2 years after COVID, labor is very hard to get workers in America. I know my other friend has a lot of workers. I call them and I say, listen, come to work with me, you'll get a better salary. You're allowed to take them or not allowed to take them. There's a tshuva and tshuvas va'anoges that you're not allowed to go to someone's cleaner and say, so the guy doesn't have to come to a big company. You don't have a cleaner in your house and you see your neighbor has a good cleaner. You wait, she comes out, you send her a text, doubled by me. V'chen amot dvar. You're allowed to or you're not allowed to? Or you tell her, I need some help, cleaners. She said, I have a friend, she works by the street, but for the right price, I will get her to come to you. The Tshuvas Va'anoga state that it's Osur Gomu. Osur Gomu. We'll see it's Nagat to the Tesis in Kiddushin Daf Nun Tes to take away someone's worker. Tesis says that if I need a melamed for my son, and I see that Yankel's son, almost bar mitzvah, learning very stark, he has the best melamed in Shtot, and I have a couple more dollars, I could come over and say, teach my son, I'll give you more money. Or a person Moshe opens a cheder. It's a very successful cheder. How he gets the best rabbeim? He pays more salary. He takes care of them like all of Klal Yisrael had to do. But at least he does it. I know one person, he's with us. This is what he does. And his friends called me up the last couple of days, and he said, you speaking of Shiur How he's allowed to? He takes all the good rabbeim because he has the right salary. He takes them away from us. He's allowed to or not allowed to? That is the shaila. That is the shaila. Teisvis says you're allowed to. Teisvis says you're allowed to. You're right, is it Teisvis? Now we'll have to see Pshat in Teisvis. Teisvis and Daf Nutes says, I need a melamed to my son. I see the melamed is teaching somewhere else. Listen, in that case, when the melamed finished his, we'll see later what is their teaching. But Teisvis speaks about, I see, not in the middle, after the contract, I see someone is teaching my friend. And I want the Rebbe for my son. Teisvis says I'm allowed to offer more money and to take him. Very schwer to understand. But as steht in Teisvis Kiddushin Daf Nutes. And the last shaila that is Nogea really in Eretz Yisrael, it's, a person doesn't have a parnasa nebach, he has a little car, and he wants to have some people to take them. I'm sure when you go to the Kaisel, you see it in every places, or you're looking for a taxi, these people, and they go to a bus stop and they say, you need to Bnei Brak. The shaila, if we look in the bus stop like Metzuda Sadag, the people are already nitzoid, the fish are ready by the bus company, and he's coming and he's grabbing them from the bus company. The shaila if you're allowed to or not. These are the shailas that are nogea lemaisa to every one of us. So to understand that, I want together, we'll start to learn the sugya. There's 9 sugyas that we have to go do. And if we'll have them clear, I hope we will have the kav. Turkey there, I want to say the big chidushim and the avone. For sure, a lot of things change today in the way that the economy and the business, what we call, I don't know how they call it, the modern business, how do you call it? Yeah. And we'll see later that it changes the lomdis also of Chazal. We'll start. Right, Gzeira from Rabbonim. I'm saying Rabbonim could make a lot of Gzeiras and we have to follow them. Yeah, when you look at the stories with the Shas, it's G'dei L'Olam, we don't understand the Tshuvas. Rabbi Kiveiga is fighting in one way, and the different G'deilim are fighting in the other way. And it sounds mamish like in our days what is going on there. Shas Vilna to the other Shas. But the people that printed the old Mishnah Berurah could tell Dirshu not to print a new Mishnah Berurah. No one uses anymore the old Mishnah Berurahs. No one uses anymore the old Ktsois. You remember when we were kids, we learned the regular Ktsois. Today everyone is the nice Ktsois, right? That guy made all the people from Ktsois to go out of business. L'moshel, a person will say a shiur and someone will say a shiur in English in the same time. It's also Yered Lum Nusi Shel Chaveiroi. At least here, at least I don't have this problem, so I could discuss it also. So that is the shaila. That is the shaila. So the shaila, when yes and when not. So I want to start to be mesada the sugya. We have one sugya. The Gemara says in Kiddushin Daf Nuntes, Oni ha-mehapech becharoro, ubo-acher v'not lo emenu nikro rosho. Machlekes Rishonim, if he has to pay back or not, both Rishonim hold that even if he was over on the halacha of Oni ha-mehapech becharoro, he doesn't have to pay back. Shitas Rashi, that even becharoro shel hefker, or that the balabais will give it to him in a present, is the isur of Oni ha-mehapech becharoro. Shitas Rabbeinu Tam, that if it's hefker, we're speaking about the isur of Oni ha-mehapech becharoro, we're not discussing in the moment Yored Lum Nusi Shel Chaveiroi. And a one-time thing, someone is about to take it and I want to grab it from him. Shitas Rabbeinu Tam, that bedover shel hefker, or bedover shel matona, that I can't get somewhere else, is no isur of Oni ha-mehapech becharoro. Even in a mekach, if it's hard for me to get the mekach, for example, the Ramah brings down, I have a house, and someone is trying to buy the house near me. In a case that is no din bar mitzvah, the seller is a goy, so there's no halacha bar mitzvah. The guy is not meshubah to unsere Teire. But I want to buy this house to extend my house. So I hear someone is about to buy it. I offer a better deal. Zok the Ramo is no oni ha-mehapech b'charoro, because I need this house. The halacha of oni ha-mehapech b'charoro is only why you have to do it here, do it somewhere else. La halacha in Shulchan Aruch and Siman Reish Lamed Zayin, the Mechaber brings down two shitas, and the Ramo paskins she'iker shebemetziyah is no isur of mehapech b'charoro. The Nesiva says that even the Mechaber Me'ikar Adin learns that we paskin like Shitas Rabbeinu Tam, that bedover shel hefker is no isur of oni ha-mehapech b'charoro. No Chashulchan learns nicht das. Even in a case that is a isur of oni ha-mehapech b'charoro, the Shulchan Aruch says it's only if the person was a psike. They decided already how much they're paying. It's only mechusar kinyan. But if they're mechusar adayin psika, they're not sure yet, and they're arguing, there's no isur of oni ha-mehapech b'charoro. The Pesach Tshuva brings down from the Sma, from the Prisha, that if lo yisur, if no one would mix in, that for sure will happen, and they will work it out, you're allowed to. But the lotion of the Ramo is that even if the shit is that it's osur, but it's only if already they're mishtave in the price. For example, I want to sell a house for $1 million, the buyer wants $750,000. So the Ramo says, if they're arguing and there was no askoma, I'm allowed to come and offer $850,000. For two reasons, and listen carefully the Lashonis. One reason he's not called mehapech yet. Mehapech has to be that he's almost there. And another reason, it can be that the seller, because the first guy that approached him offered him $750,000, no one will come to offer a better deal. Why to take care of the sellers? Why not to take care of the buyers? Why to take care of the buyers, not to take care of the sellers? I have a house. I offered $1 million. Someone gets up, $750,000. No one in the city is allowed to come over now because mapach b'charoro. Why? The seller wants someone to come for $850,000. So the same thing, we have toivas akoine, we have toivas amoicha. So there's two reasons why, when there's no psak of money, and they're arguing yet about the money, that you're allowed to. So this is the Ikar Halacha. Now I want to come to the second shaila, the second sugya that we have to understand. Oni ha-mehapech b'charoro, or the same thing yoyret, the Marshal and Siman Lamed Vov, and the Maharam al-Shich and the Chaves Yoir, it's only if I went over to him. But if the moicher comes over to me and he offers me, I'm busy with Yenem, I want to give it to you, like the case of the proposal. For sure he's allowed to, and it's not called a rosho. For sure he's allowed to. Why? The Avnei Nezer brings down, and Siman Yud Zayin, it's in page 235. They don't have it in the regular Maramekemis. They only have it in Reb Shlomo Gatesman's Maramekemis. Don't know why he's the only one that found it. He says, it can be that I'm the seller. I want to sell it to someone else. What, I have to sell it cheap to the first person that mixed into me? It can be. It can be. It can be, Zok Avnei Nezer. He says, I'm allowed to change my mind. I don't want to give it to that person. If b'meila the other person doesn't have to be scared. Now, so here we come to the main shaila. And I discussed it today with a lot of Rabbanim. Listen carefully. I go over to a person and I say, listen, I see your house is in sale. I want to buy it. He says, a pleasure. I give him $1 million. I get a phone call from Yankel. I'm sorry, I was mehapech b'charoro. I was about to close with him. Is a problem or not a problem? Again, Meister Shahoyo, I go over, I see in Toronto you put your house for sale. I knock on your door, I could buy it? You say, yes, $1 million Canadian. I give it to you. The guy says, Schuldig, I was here an hour ago. You're Ma'abel Becharoro. This is the case. You know, the guy's not lying. No, he was speaking to the other guy. The other guy was very busy closing. The other guy was busy closing the deal. No, but it was Askonmev money. It was no kiosk. It was no Kenyan, but it's Ma'abel Becharoro. Ma'abel Becharoro. I didn't know, but now I know. Rabbi say, listen carefully. Reb Moshe Feinstein. Very good, but it can be. It can be. Reb Moshe Feinstein in Choshen Mishpot, Chelek Aleph Siman Samach. Again, it's only on page 235 from Shlomo Gottesman, and no one was Mitzvah in it here. I don't know why. Reb Moshe wants to say that it's Osur. He has a raya from the Gemara that we learned in Kiddushin Daf Nuntes. This Rav Lefkovich is bringing the raya. The Gemara says that Rav Gidal went and bought a sodeh. Right? We have the Gemara in Kiddushin. I think it's on page 2. Page 3. Rav Gidal have a mehapich bayuare. Look in page 3. Ozal Rab Abe Zavno. Ozal Rav Gidal kable le Rab Zeire. Ozal Rab Zeire kable le Rav Yitzchok. Na omale hamdin at shiale etzleinu. When he came, he asked him, Oni ha-me'aber becharoro, what is the halacha? He says, Rosho. Velomar ma'itaime, omar lo yohave yadane. I didn't know. No, so what is the problem? This is the case. This is the case. It can be. It can be. It can be. And Igmar says that he didn't want to use it because Oni ha-me'aber becharoro. What is the problem? I went to the other person and he wanted to sell it to me. Zogt Moshe, mikan muchach, that even if you did not know, is an isur of onia mehapech becharoro. And this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. What the seller is not allowed to. When people, I put a house to sale and someone was discussing it with me. Now someone came. I wanted to sell it. I'm not allowed to. Why am I not allowed to? I knocked on every door. I hire a guy that knocks on every door, house to sale. Or phones every phone. There's 2 ways to do it. Yeah. And I want to buy the house. Now every time I have to think maybe a yid was here before me. Why I have to find out? You note kiaskaf. I answered you before. Note kiaskaf. He's in the middle of discussing someone else. Was a meister they went to Rebbe Yashi. Was a guy here who wanted to rent an apartment in Ramat Eshkol. You know the price is normally 20 times more than what it's worth. And he wanted to rent out his house. It was a family with 8 kids. He was about to close. And he put up an ad. He told the guy, come back tomorrow, we'll sign, everything is good. A young couple that just got married knocked on the door. They didn't know nothing from before. He said, Givaldik, a young couple. He called the guy, I'm sorry, forget about it. I'm giving to this young couple. They moved in, a day after it, they get a letter. Rosha, we're on the street, disgusting. Nicht kein Rosha, beseder, aber nicht beseder. Tell that guy to put a sign, not the right Rosha. Put off the side, take off the side. I'll tell you, I discussed it today with a lot of Dayonim and the basin of Nissan Karelitz. They say, when the Miyashav is in the Gemara, when the Miyashav of Moshe, but it can be that it's also. It can be that it's also. We have to have the Nezer. That I'm the seller. What do you mean? I'm not allowed to sell it to someone else. What is that halacha? Because someone was here with 8 kids, I don't want to sell to someone to 8 kids. I want to give my apartment to a young couple. What is the problem? I agreed. Maybe Mechusar Ramona. What is the Shaykhis to the Sugi of Yored? Mechusar Ramona. It's no Mechusar Ramona. Rabbi Yashi said maybe 8 kids is no Mechusar Ramona. It's called a good reason. It's called a good reason, even 7. It's not Mechusar Ramona. I have a good reason. You're right. So the moicher has a right to decide that he wants to hear more customers. What stops the moicher to have a right when someone's knocking on the door? He doesn't want to tell the guy, I'm done. Want to hear? Maybe the guy will close now. Right? What stops the moicher to do that? He gave his word. That is mechusar amona. No shaykhis to the sugi of yored. Mechusar amona, when you have a good reason, you're allowed to be choiser. What? Yeah, for sure. But first, like you said, lifnei iver, and also the koine wants to know if he has a isu. You're telling me that because the koine has a right, I have to lose. So I have to put up a sign. I'm selling an apartment. I want to tell you, Rabbi Isai, I'm not deciding to the last minute. You can't do business like that. I'm doing a business. I have to keep my word or something else. But if a better deal comes, the first person that comes in, if I see the first person doesn't look that he has money, I would not let him into my house. Because, he'll put me a short price and then I'm stuck. Mishapora is when there's no hefsed moment. When there's hefsed moment, there's no mishapora. What? Maybe you could be doiche that in the case of the Gemara, he did not have a mile to give Rav Gidal. Could be. That for sure you could do. The shaila is, you have to do. But what if the other guy doesn't want to give 850? But that is the shaila of Onei HaMe'apech. That is the shaila. Because if you would not give 850, so Reb Moshe has a rai from Rav Gidal. The shaila, what we do with the Gemara from Rav... Again, based on Rav Gidal? Right, that because the Fnim Mishur Asadin, he did not want to give it back because the first buy that he don't... But steht in the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef, but what steht in the Gemara? Steht in the Gemara that Rav Gidal was told, you only have mehapech. They asked him, he said, I didn't know. He said, I will give it back. Why you have to give it back? If I didn't know, it's no only a me'apich. It's mashma in the Gemara that even that he didn't know, he was over an only a me'apich. He just did not give it back because it was his first karka that he bought. And it's not, you don't sell the first karka in the old days. What? Right. So Rishonim asked why he didn't give it back. Aber steht in the Gemara that he was called only a mehapech? Yes. Why? Fragt Reb Moshe. It's a rai from Reb Moshe. It's not my rai. Fragt Reb Moshe, what was the case? He didn't know. So, or he went over to the guy. So we could take one answer, one of the two. Or that maybe he went over to the guy and then it's usur. How he knew? The guy put up a sign that he's selling a karka. He went over to the guy and the guy said, yes, I wanted to sell it to you. So it's also only a mehapech becharoro. What? No, the Mizchasidus, what Rabbi Yosef is asking why he didn't use it. But the Gemara zogt as be'etzem si given ha'yerelum nusay. The Gemara wants him to give it back the karka. The chiyuv to give back is Mizchasidus. But the sugya si heis yored or nicht, das steht onei ha'mehapech, steht in the Gemara that das heis onei ha'mehapech. Sagt Reb Moshe again, in Tshuva, and page 235, you see the Reb Moshe brings this raya. 235, it's Marav Gattesman's area. What? He puts a house for sale. You're saying a good svar. You're saying that, we'll see in a second.
Price the same by the Gemara?
L'chura, maybe. Price was the same. So you're saying maybe when it's the same price, then it's the Isur. So we'll see later how to be magdir. But they say that if I didn't know and I come over to the other person, I'm allowed to. I'm saying in Ramosha state kimat mefurish not like that. Kimat mefurish in Ramosha, that's not the same. And I'm not allowed to. I don't know. So for sure, what you're saying is right. That when I put something in sale and I'm saying I want to check the prices, for sure. Maybe I'll give two more Akadomas on Onia Mehapich and then we'll go back to this Shaila. What? A little bit louder. So there's no Isur of Onia Mehapich. What? You're right. Then there's an Isur Onia Mehapich, but if there's no houses, so even if I'm only a mehapech, I'm allowed to buy it. We are speaking now, like you said, that there's more houses. But we're discussing if it's a sugi of only a mehapech or there's no sugi of only a mehapech. So misvar we would say it's not called only a mehapech. The guy put up a sign and I knocked on the door, what is the problem? But Rav Moshe says I have a rai from Rav Gida. That is the kasha. Again, not every place you have Isur of Onia Mehapich. When there's no houses, there's no Onia Mehapich. When there's houses, is Onia Mehapich. We're discussing now the Shaila of Onia Mehapich. I'll bring two more Shailas and then we'll discuss this. What would be if the Onia Mehapich is not an Oni, he's an Oshir? The Gemara says in Modna Loshen, Onia Mehapich Becharore. Why Oni? Zog Deran and Kiddushin that only if he's a poor person, but if he's a rich person, there's no Yisur of Oni HaMe'apech Becharoro. He has enough bread in his house. The Lashon Haran is Sha'oshir motzu lo ilechem bebeisoi oy likach mishcheinoi. So it's mashma in the Ran, even that it's free, and the Oshir will have to pay some money. Of them is no din Oni HaMe'apech Becharoro. Frag der Ran, so was mit Rav Gidal? Rav Gidal was not poor. The other person was not poor. Don't know how he knew he was not poor, but obviously he was not poor. Frag der Ran, so why I'm saying it's only by Oni? Zog der Ran that it's not easy to buy a property. She'eine mitzuim af ha'oshir ke'oni yechoshev. So, but lefi that, for example, if you have a big store in your neighborhood, and you're a little person, you want a shtickle parnosa, and you ask the oilem, please to buy by you the diapers, and you convince them to come to you and not to go to the big store, there's no problem. The store is a osher. So in the Moshe, there's a Sefer HaYosher VeHaToiv. They have it in page 202. So one of the Teirim, he says, the bus companies are so rich, that person that's going with a car has no problem with only a mapach b'charo. It's not what? I'm not Yoreh Lumnusa because it's what? Right. We'll see. But Lemaise, if I'm living in the same city, there's no problem with Yoreh Lumnusa. Right, I'm taking the customers. So we'll see later if Mitzuda Sadak. We'll see Mitzuda Sadak if the customers are like fish. Fish, when they're inside already, could be they're already trapped. A human being is never trapped. He could get a phone call and just decide to go back. No, the guy that is stopping with a car near the bus stop is taking from the usher. No, the oni is mehapech, and I'm taking from the oni. Hillel, right, but... Now, there's another cooler what you bought here. Shlomo Zalman Auerbach told me once, when I was learning such a sugya, he said, some people in life, they say, oh, it's a schwere sugya. When it comes to halacha l'maaseh, ich will fragen Harav. He said, in these sugyas, I don't know if you will find, if you learn it good for a week, I don't know if you will find someone that is bucking the halachas like you. And you have to decide now, when you learn the sugyas, what is mutar and what is asul. Now, listen carefully. Shitas Rashi, Kiddushin Untes, that behefker is oni ha-mehapech becharor. B'matone is oni ha-mehapech becharor. Rabbeinu Tam says no. Oni ha-mehapech becharor is only when I could get it somewhere else. If I can't get it somewhere else, is no isur of oni ha-mehapech becharor. Tosfos brings two rayas against Rashi. Look in Tosfos Kiddushin Daf Nuntes Amud Aleph. Page 3. Piresh Bakuntres, the Meiri Becharoro Shel Hefker. Vekoshe Modetnan B'shtayim Moichzim. Page 3. Roes HaMetzio V'nofa Leoleo. Oy Shepires Ubo Acher V'not Lo Arei Shaloi. We'll leave this raya. We'll go to the second raya. V'cheino de Omar Osom, Mi Sheliket Mikzas Apeyo, Upires Talisa Yoleo, Ma'avirim Oiso Ameno. Ve'amai oni ma'aper becharore. So Tosfos brings a raya that even in Hefker, it's mutar. Because if you say that it's also, why if oni puts his talis on the peyo? Ma'avirim oisa imenu. Oni ma'aper becharore. A raya that behefker is no oni ma'aper becharore. Rashi and the Ramban hold that behefker is the isur of oni ma'aper becharore. So frag the Ramban what I will answer on Tosfos. Look what the Ramban answers. Page 13. Look what the Ramban answers in page 13. Uma she'omru le'inyan peye. Page 13. It's in the Dibur HaMaschil Avol Rashi, towards the last 4 lines in the Dibur HaMaschil Avol Rashi. A huge kula from the Ramban. The Ramban says everyone is looking for payah. All of the anim is searching all over the place. So it's a huge kula. For example, you have we'll say a deer in Ramat Eshkol. Every American that gets engaged is starting to search for apartments. Some higher class ones, some of the lower class ones, but everyone is looking. Now someone comes over and you stupid. It's like pay it. There's no problem. Everyone is looking for apartments here. There's no shaykhis to oni ha-mehapech becharoro. There's no shaykhis to oni ha-mehapech becharoro. So lemaise. A person, we said, shita stays first that if I can't find somewhere else, it's no problem. I can find a different apartment. Very hard. Shitas Rashi that it's also, but in this case it's mutar. When a person was walking in the street and he found a diamond, Zogt Rashi, he's mehapech, don't come. But if everyone knows that in that, these places that everyone looks for diamonds, yeah? And everyone is looking, and one guy who almost gets it, you jump over him and you take it. It's no only a mehapech. What? But you're saying a different teretz in the Ramban? A third teretz. Yeah, but I hear, maybe this really could be a lamda shashir. It's a svar. Rabbi Elyashiv brings down already the svara in Koivus Tshuvit. You have it in page 195. Rabbi Elyashiv brings down this kind of svara. He asks us, till when? He says, for sure, if I would try to get a job, and the other guy tried to get a job, and the other guy got it, I can't come after a year and say, I was also mehapich. Aber b'shas ma'aseh, sagt Rabbi Elyashiv. Now, this is a huge kula. Everyone is looking for deals. Everyone today, it's a new world, yeah? People have companies, phone books, you go, you try to get guys to get to your insurance. Everyone is mehapich. Speaking on the young Lakewood money, yeah? Everyone is mehapich. Could be is not a chisorin if oni mehapich b'charoro. I'm saying, I can't say it b'oifen kloli. But when the world is today, everyone is trying to get the deals. Everyone is trying to get, it's not only a mehapich b'charoro. If you can get the deal, so shitas teisus that you're allowed to. What's the shitas Rashi? First, we said the ikar psak is like teisus. But even if the ikar psak, we're choishes to shitas Rashi. So again, before you close the deal, zok teisus, zok the Shulchan Aruch, it's not called mehapich. It's not like hefker. Hefker, and I'll explain why. When I'm jumping on the thing, in 2 minutes I'm picking it up. And a deal is two sides to a deal. Every time it could go sour. The main is the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramo, if it's not about to close, it's not called oni mehapich. Again, legufam shel dvorim midaf me'ayin zayin. Legufam shel dvorim midaf me'ayin zayin. But that is one of the svaras that in a lot of the cases, we will not have a chisorin of oni mehapich b'charoro. Most people are trying to get talmidim. I'm not sure if it's shaykh bichlal. Recording, how it goes in the new yeshivas. Everyone is trying to get. So they spoke to you, you come by night, you speak to them also. People are trying to get Rabbi. The only Amahab, again, we have Alamol the heter of Teisvis, that if you can't find somewhere else, it's mutter. But I'm saying, even if Ishitas Rashi, that will say that it's also, but if everyone is mechazer, the halacha is different. We'll go one more step. As the Sefer Mishnas Yehoshua, he brings down Poiskim, and it's look to all of you. I know you do it to us when you come to Eretz Yisrael. What do you do every time when you come to Eretz Yisrael? I know I'm a young man. Ich habe nicht kein Geld. Nicht kein Balabos. I go into Geula. I want to buy an esrog. Comes in this American guy. Give me $1,000. Give me the best esrog. I was about to close the esrog with him for $150. This American goes in, 10 esrogim, $1,000. No chavishkin side. Normally he sends his gabe. Get me the best 2 esrogim. I'm about to close. I'm allowed to or not? The Mishnas Yehoshua brings down from the Aruch HaShulchan, Simen Reish Lamed Zayin Hey, that in Dvar Mitzvah is no oni amapach b'charoro. In a Dvar Mitzvah is no, you're allowed to come in, you go into the store, you see a guy, forget about Leisachmoin, you go and the guy has a nice esrog. And the guy is handling with the moich. Okay, so if he was not poisek, Shulchan Aruch says, but they're about to close the deal, $200, and you come in, four. So when they sell the aliyahs, it's not a problem, it's a part of the... But you come into the store, the guy says 2, you go in the back. I had these stories. I found this nice esrog, and the guy's doing like this behind me. Sometimes it means thousands also. Is allowed to or not allowed to? Well, very good. The Aruch HaShulchan says, Nira li levar pshat b'teisus of melamed, not because, Teisus Nuntes Amud Aleph in the bottom, not because he could steal his Rebbe, because I can't find a Rebbe somewhere else, like the Sma learns. Zog the Aruch HaShulchan, I think the pshat is because b'dvar mitzvah is no oni amehapich b'charor. I know it sounds so far, but all of you are learning be'iyun, right? All of you started today Nuntes. I'm sure all of you had the kasha. If not, you don't deserve to be in Yarchikal if you didn't have this kasha. The Gemara starts the first story. He sends him to make a shidduch. He sends him to make a shidduch. What?
We have to hold the questions. We have 20 more.
We didn't start yet the Shiur. I'm in the Akdama. I'm sorry. The Gemara says a story that he sent him to marry to get a shidduch. He married after himself. Derech Ramoes. Why in the first sugya was no problem of Oni HaMehapach B'Charora? You didn't have it, Shver? I'm Shleim, the Olam Bo'isik in this kasha? Why is no Oni HaMehapach B'Charora? What is the answer? What? The only one, the best girl. The Marshal says, mitzvahs pruvervu is not only a map. The Marshal in Chochma Shleima in the back of the Gemara. I don't know why we don't have it in the booklet. But in the Chochma Shleima, the ones that have the Gemara Kiddushin, Chochma Shleima in the back of the Gemara, fragt the kasha, and he doesn't answer. All of the terutzim could be terutzim. And for sure that it has a shaykhis. The Gemara is not stam one after each other. Stam derech Ramois and then the Maisa with Rav Gidl. For sure, there's a lot of lomdishe teire. It has to be that the derech Ramois, but this I'm leaving to the lomdishe shebelomdishe. Yeah. So could be in a sisa yoshel ve'atoiv is legabi mitzvahs. It's not shaykh, and could be that this is not called chaim. Chaim is only mominous. Yered lu'um nusoi oni ha'me'apa b'charora. You're taking his life. Taking mitzvahs is not called taking his life. I'll give a shmuz, I'll say fakir, but lo mishaneh. But the lomdis is the aside of the sugyas is paskas lechayusi. It's not very. I will ask you a question. I know it's not the same. You go into a shul a lot of times, and they're selling the aliyahs, and the guy's mom is struggling to get up. Avada, you allowed to, and you Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you shefay 1,000. Finish. You knock him out. You have to feel bad or not?
Are you doing it l'shem mitzvah? Very good. You think he's not? Are you doing it l'shem mitzvah?
It's a good question. But I'm saying, is it sad to say that to steal a mitzvah is what? One second. We have a Torah. Why am I not allowed to take away your parnasa? Yeah, 1 second. But why am I not allowed to take away your parnasa? Is a halacha paskas lechayusi. A lot of Rishonim explain, and Oni HaMe'apech is a small of paskas lechayusi. It's not paskas lechayusi. I took away your mitzvahs. So you don't have mitzvahs. Who said you have to have mitzvahs? That the reason the Shulchan wanted to learn like that and taste this, what I understood, because it was bothering him that there's no shaykhs to the sugi of Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam is discussing, I can't buy a soda, so that is the best soda, I'm allowed to take it. A melamed, what is the problem to take someone's melamed? So I took away his melamed. So his kids will not learn, so he'll be crazy now. So what? Avu state, it's choshen mishpot. These halachas are choshen mishpot. I'm not saying in Shuvas Marshal that we have the big tshuva in Shuvah Lamed Vav. He says that there's no difference in mitzvahs and choshen mishpot. In both of them, it's a steer in the Marshal from the Chochma Shleima. But the Chochma Shleima, I have the Gemara in our sugya. If not, it's very schwer. What has to Chonim answer different terutzim? There's no paskas. She is not sure. She didn't know. I'm saying you have to know what was the cases exactly. Aber sag the Marshal and mitzvahs because the halacha paskas lechayus. This. It's not the pshat. If we have time, we'll get to the Chasim Sofer that Chazal made him when he's me'apeh b'charora that he was zoiche. And b'meila I'm a ganev. So you're right, the lomdus he was zoiche in the esrog, so b'meila maybe I'm a ganev. But the aside is that when I'm taking away from him, not because I'm taking the choshen mishpot sheboy. I had a big machlekes with the Shmir Shabbos Ki Ilchoso. I once was Shvis 5 years ago. I found a nice esrog. It was worth Mr. $3,000. A beautiful esrog. I came to show it. He was my Rebbe. He said, wow. his eyes, like I never saw it. I lived with him for 30 years. It was the first time I saw his eyes shine. This was the esrog. I told him, Rebbe, take it for a present. He said worse. He said, I was overly sachmoid. If I take it, I was overly sachmoid. I told him, Rebbe, you have it wrong. You choymed the mitzvah, you're not choymed the choshen mishpat. He said, no, val esrog, you're not Yosef, it's not lochem, I'm overly sachmoid. And he didn't want to take it. He didn't want to take it. I took it. I could not take that. But I'm only saying that could be like, so that could be a big tziruf, that if lemoshel, if I think that my yeshiva is a dvar mitzvah, could be it's not only I'm happy to collect money from my yeshiva. I don't need the money. I need the yeshiva. This is one chelik. I'm skipping a little bit with Oni Amenakif Berosh Hazais because we don't have time to go into it. It's something that the Tesis did not bring down, but the Rosh and the Ran brought down a kasha that is a Nozu Gemorah that Oni Amenakif Berosh Hazais, the Rosh here in Daf Nun Tes, he was hitting the Zais and it falls on the floor, and then he's about to take it, and someone else goes and grabs it. The Gemara says it's Osur Misum Gezer. Fragt Tesis. So we see that even Bedover Shel Hefker is a did of Oni HaMe'apech Becharora. This is what the Rosh Bayos brings down in Kiddushin. And the Rosh says, Shayni Hosom Shetorach Boi Legamre Ve'acherim Masichim Daite Mimenu. There, he was Toireach very hard. He climbed on the tree. The Chasam Sefer says maybe in Pikuach Nefesh. But also, he was sure that no one will take it. Nainu, you pour, you hit in his eyes. So he was toireach, so it becomes like it's his. Mashein came, and all the other places. So you have to know the case of the proposals that we spoke about. When a person really invested, what? The Samcha Daite. Well, why is Samcha Daite? He means he throws down and he's sure that no one else will take it. So that's the question that the person can speak. You have to a lot of time when you come in to take someone else's parnasa and the other person invested a lot. Like this case of the proposal, I want to tell you, I told my Talmud, his name is Aaron Richman. I told him, listen, I can't tell you not to do it because the Beis Din said you're allowed to, but pay him all of the money that he put into the proposal. The Beis Din didn't like it, but I told him he has to do it. And he called me last week and he said, daven for me that I will carry on learning. He said, from that moment that I gave him the money, I don't have an end of jobs that are calling. I was mevater. Come on, mamshech. Chutz from the halacha, Chutz from the halacha yored Oni HaMe'apech Becharora, we have the second sugya that is called Posakto Lechiyusi. And the Gemara says in Baba Basra Daf Chof Aleph Amud Beis, a person has a store and you want to open a store in the same place. Rav Huna holds you're not allowed to. Rav Huna Barei Rabbi Yeshua holds you're allowed to. But only if you live in the same mavui. If you don't live in the same mavui, you're not allowed to. Today, most people are considered the same mavui. I'm not going now to the tshuvas. The world's international. It's different. But legufam shel dvorim, the Gemara says something very interesting. That one shita holds you're not allowed to. Posakta lechayusi. You're taking away my parnasa. For sure, the Poskim say if it's enough for both, there's no posakta lechayusi. But Rav Huna Rabbi Yeshua holds you allowed to, but only if you live in the same city. If you live in a different city, you're not allowed to. And the shaila, why? If there's no svore posakto lechiyusi, why you have a right to stop people from a different city to come in? What is the difference? What is the svara? What is the svara? What is the svara? And we'll say, I'm asking the shaila because it'd be nogea very much in a second to see the lomdas in the sugya. We started in the beginning of the shiur to shtel the kasha where we spoke about the leaves. What would it be if the person, Rav Huna holds you're allowed to open a store? Rashi says, Loshen Rashi, Baba Basra. Where's Baba Basra? 62. The reason I don't remember everything, someone gave me, I want to be honest. I had a bar mitzvah yesterday night, and one of the people came and gave me the booklet. So today in the morning, I went over the whole booklet. I wanted to see what you have. So most of the Mamakemis, the numbers I remember from there, but not all of them. So Rashi says in Chof Aleph Amud Beis, 62. אבל הוכש שזהם התחילו, רש"י דיבור המסחיל שייני דגים דייה וסערה, אבל הוכש מי שבו אצלי יובוי, מי שבו אצלך יובוי. Some could come to me, some could come to you. What would be, listen carefully, if the other store closes, shuts down the first store? With the halacha is you're allowed to open a store, everyone opens a store. One store shuts down the other store.
It's the Rimagash.
What?
The Rimagash.
So we'll start. Is the Tshuva Saramo, a famous Tshuva Saramo, that Maharam Padva, that was the first story that really happened that we have in the Poiskim. The Maharam Padva printed a Rambam. A guy decided he doesn't like Maharam Padva, and he printed also a Rambam, and he sold it in 1 coin less. 1 gold coin. A golden real. Everyone was only buying the guy's Rambam. Maharam Padva was yelling, I don't have money. I printed thousands of Rambams. This tshuva is printed in Tshuva Saramo. And Siman Yud Aleph. We have it, right? We have the tshuva.
You want it?
What?
You want it?
No, that I don't know where it is. We'll see later. What? Siman Yud. The Ramah and Siman Yud. The Ramah brings down the Shaila. And the Ramah wants to paskin. He says, we can't tell the goy, but we will tell all of the Yidden that they're not allowed to buy by the goy. By the way, a chidush that I would never say. The goy is wrong. Why I'm not allowed to buy by him? It's cheaper. Why I'm not allowed to buy by him? He's not allowed to be Yored Lumnus Shel Chaveiroi. I'm a shubet to mefarnes Maharam Padva. Why? What? I'm a gmach. I give tzedakah anyway. You know how much tzedakah I give? I give tzedakah millions. What is the shaykhs? I want to buy a cheap Rambam. What stops me to buy? I want to explain. The Ramah took it to a very far place. Very far. If a Yid opens and you want to punish the Yid, make a gzeira that no one will buy by the Yid. I hear. A guy opened, the guy can do what he wants. Pashtus. Mitzvah Ladinim, Pashtus, the guy is allowed to do what he wants. What? So 1 second. That is another part of the tshuva. The Ramah has 4 tshuvas. But I want to ask you, if this is your minig, when a Yid sells expensive and in Tesco is cheap, where you buy? Just tell me where you go to buy. I just want to know where you buy. Tell me. Alevai you will buy by the Yid. But what we could do, you buy at Amazon. Some people say it's owned by a Yid, but I don't know. You buy by Amazon, half price. So I'm saying the Ramah is very mechudeshtik. Not only that I'm not allowed to sell cheap, the Ramah says I'm not allowed to, the Yidden have to. And why I'm saying that? Because some want to say the Ramah never meant it. We made a circle that we have to help the Maharam Padva. And we found reasons. The Gemara says you have to help Tamid Chachomim. And he found a lot of tzirufim why it's osur. What? So he was Bori Ezeka, but why I'm not allowed to buy? He's wrong. I'm asking you a shaila. You go outside. We had this story in Arnof. I'm not saying because Chamase, from the time I'm a kid, they have a store, like a hardware store, they sell nails and this old little store, the guy was selling when I was 5 years old and he's selling it now. You can imagine the service, they got more people, and a new store came, Nishkin, Yiddish store, Bichlal, a Goyish company, they said Arnof, and they built this massive store, and the size of this room. I'm allowed to go to buy in the new store? The Ramos says, I'm not allowed. Right. So again, but the nafkamina, what you're saying, Rabbi Yosef, is that the goy was really trying to get the Maharam Padva. So b'meila, we will not have a raya from the Ramo that in a regular case that I'm opening a store for my own parnasa and the other guy is shut down, I'll be allowed to. This is what I'm trying to explain. That even that the Ramod answered, I'm saying we could say a whole shiur in the Ramod, and I want to cover the whole sugya. But we'll go weiter. Now, is two rayas. We bought the two rayas that you're allowed to, that you're not allowed to. One raya was from Avi Asaf, where the Moltche brings down, that you're not allowed to open a store in the beginning of the Movi if it's like a ches, because everyone will buy by you and you're a paskin chayusa. And the Rimigash that learns Pshat and Shaine Dogim, the Saire, that the Pshat is that the fish are for sure the paskin Lashon Rimigash. The Nimtza Paisek Chayusa Legamre. And like this in Sefer Sheiris Yosef and Masas Binyamin, the Chasam Sefer, and a lot of places like Reb Moshe, Paskind, that you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. The Beis Ephraim and the Divrei Chaim hold you allowed to. They hold you allowed to. Now, belong this, it's very schwer to understand why you're not allowed to. Why I'm not allowed to. I'll explain what I mean. Instead of explaining the case in the way that it sounds bad, we'll go to a better case. It's only place for one store. It's only a place for one store. Reb Moshe Feinstein has a tshuva in it, and Chelek Beis Siman Lamed Aleph. Was a neighborhood in America that was a store to Klei Kodesh, Gemaras. Another person wanted to open a store, and he opened the store. Reb Moshe tells him, because I hold, like the Ramo, that if you shut the other person down, you're not allowed to. It's not only in the case that you open like a massive store and he gets swallowed in. It's a little neighborhood, will be 50-50, but there's no parnasa. It's not enough parnasa. Reb Moshe says you have to close your store. Chelek Beis Siman Lamed Aleph. Like the shul. But he says they're interested that you have to pay him the money for the rent that he rented the store. And I don't understand. The tshuva, Chelek Beis, what? The tshuva, we have the tshuva. What page is it? Two, four, three. Reb Moshe holds he's not allowed to open the store. Reb Moshe was very machmir. I know Reb Moshe learns that the heter to be yoyrelum nusi shel chaveiroi is
242. 242 in the bottom.
242.
There's the shul and the store.
The shul and the store. So Reb Moshe holds that the halacha of the Ramo that you're not allowed to, it's not like what you're trying to say, that was different reasons. If there's no place, the whole heter of the sugya is Loshen Rashi, Misha bo elai yovo elai, Misha bo elecho yovo elecho. If we don't have that matzev, you're not allowed to. And he holds you have to close the second store to the Misha Kedusha. I'm saying a lot of poskim hold not like that. Right, so it's the same Reb Moshe. And he doesn't let them. He doesn't let them open the Sfarad.
It's even a bigger chiddush.
A bigger Kiddush. I would say that Sfarad is something else. If we have time, we'll get that. A different item you're allowed to bring. And Moshe didn't hold that Sfarad and Ashkenaz is a different meaning.
That's a different question.
Yeah, okay, but we're not.
Saying Tasha's up there,
We're not saying Tasha's related. The Ramo was Kodesh Kadoshim, and the Ramo said it, he meant it.
Moshe wasn't a chashiv with the Mila from the foot side.
Very schwer. And the store, most of the Rabbonim hold, it can be that Rav has a right to have a parnasa when I want to daven like a normal person.
And they didn't like the Rav. Whoever heard of somebody not liking their Rav?
But here, I want to tell, and here Rabbi said, we'll touch first a piece of Lomdes that you like. Came the Poskim and asked the Shaila. I know it sounds very scary. We will say, like I said, Beis Ephraim, and a lot of Poskim hold that you're allowed to, and the Val standing in my psak, that the guy is allowed to open that leaves. He's trying to invest it again against that lady. It's a Shaila Lamaisa. I said, Klal Yisrael need to have cheap leaves all over the country. We need to have these clean leaves because one lady in Toronto wants to have a parnosa. We can't have Klal Yisrael, can't have good products. Lo yala ala das. But the Poskim came with a very interesting shaila. I know you will have negiyas, but listen carefully. A person, we'll divide it into two. A person has a store of fish. I want to open a store of fish. If I open the store, his store is over. Paskas l'chiyusi. That guy owns, in this street, shoes, a store for computers, 10 stores. Paskas l'chiyusi? You don't have a fish store. In this store, this guy owns 10 nursing homes. He owns planes. He could say Paskas l'chiyusi or not. Machloikas hapoiskim. It's not very much. And I'll divide. The question is divided to two in this case. And a better question, they ask, a person has a reshet, how you say, a chain? A network. He has 50 stores of fish. This store will close, but the other 29 will be running. It's also pasakta l'chiyusi. He has fish stores all over. He has groceries all over. I want to open a lake with a bigger grocery. His grocery will go off. But he has Baruch Hashem in Borapak, Flatbush, Monsey, Monroe. He has all over. What? It's not only Mabab. So I want to, Rabbi, in what lomdus it's told? The Chab de lomdus. What is the pshat in the Ramo and the Avi Osov and the Rimigash that if you poisek legamri it's also? What is the pshat if you poisek legamri it's also? Two pshatim. But what is the pshat? One pshat is I'm not allowed to kill a person. How you said leisamid al dam re'echo. Maram Padve, if he doesn't sell the Rambams, he's bankrupt. Yankel, he's rich like Koirach. I'm not killing him. There's no Leisamid Adam Re'echo. So if the pshat is like this, Be'etzem and Lomdes, if you're allowed to open the store, it doesn't make a difference. You're allowed to open the store. If the Ben Mas is allowed to open the store, it doesn't make a difference if he's closing them or not, closing him down or not. Like the Beis Ephraim said that it's posher that you're allowed to. There's no chisor, there's no issue to close down the other person. The reason that it's also to close the other person is only because Paskas l'chayusa, you're killing him. Chazal don't let to do that. If that is the lomdus, if the other guy is rich, not killing him. But if the lomdus is that the heter to open another store, you're allowed to have a competition. You don't have a right to close the other person. No shaykhis to his bank account. No shaykhis to Paskas l'chayusi. You're right, the Gemara says the lotion of Paskas l'chayusi. But the lomdus is not mitzad Paskas l'chayusi. The lomdus is because you're allowed to open another store, you can't shut down the other store. If the pshat that you can't shut down the other store, so then even in this case it'll be also. The Chasim Sofer in Siman Kuf Yud Ches says doesn't make a difference how much money the guy has. If you're closing down a store, it's usur. But I saw a lot of Poiskis Manein who want to say not like that. Now, before we mamshich, I don't know how much more time we will have, I want first to bring down that we have to know that even that you're allowed to, is a midas chasidus not to be yored lu'umnusei shel chaveiro. And I want to mention the couple mekoimes that we know that is a midas chasidus not to be yored. The Shulchan Aruch Harav, we have him in page 26, brings down that even she'eiche shemutor al pidin leired lu'umnusei shel chaveiroi mishum midas chasidus ike veyesh lo le'odom limshoich yodoi mizeh. And the Chavos Yair brings it down in Siman Membeis. What are the rayas? The first raya is from the Gemara in Makos Chof Daled Amud Aleph. You have the Gemara in Makos in page 67. The Gemara says, Bo David ve'emidom al Yud Aleph. Lo yosol reu ro mi yogu ba'olecho mishke ba'otzidkecho. And one of the things the Gemara says, shelo yosol reu ro shelo yorad leumnusei shel chaveiroi. Now the list of the things there is doiver emes bilevovoi. That if you wanted to sell someone something in a price, keep your word in your heart. And the Gemara says, what is it? Shelo yosol reu ro shelo yorad leumnusei shel chaveiroi. Steht that is a inyan lifnim mishur asadin not to be yored lu'umnusei shel chaveiroi.
Buy an item also. If a person imports an item from China, because of that, the other guy can't sell that item.
The store will stay open.
The store will stay open, but he can't sell that item.
So I want to get to that. We'll try to get to that question because that is very nogea l'maaseh. Again, why do Rabbanim want to say you're allowed to? Because we need people to import from China. If not, the market will just go up and up. The way the market is built, that people are bringing more products, this is the way the market is today. As a Gemara in Sanhedrin, Vel isho nido lo yikrav, shelo inena mikupo shel tzedoko. Esh eishes re'eyu lo itime, shelo yorad leumnusei shel chaveiroi. And if you see the Rambam, it's mefurish in Rambam. You have this Rambam, we'll see the Rambam inside, page 16. Look in Lashon HaRambam. Perek Hei Milchos Deos Alocha Yud Gimel. Umasom umatonom shel talmidei chachomim. Be'emes ubebemuno. לא יוירד לתוך אומנוסוי של חברוי. ואם הוא עושה כן, אולו וכוסו ואומר, ויאמרו לי, עבדי אתו ישראל אשר בכו אספויר. מידס חסידוס. So we have things that are called, שלא יוירד לאומנוסוי של חברוי, גמורה in Makos Chof Daled, Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Rambam Derech Masom Shel Talmidei Chachomim. Again, when and how much is called yored and not yored, but for sure, when you have these shilas, you're right. In one way, you want to be mekel, but I want to come. We're running late, and I want to come to the shilah that you brought up, and that is really negea to us. The Ramah brings down a kula, and again, this is one of the big kulas. Like I started, oni mimas. I don't want to be mekel. I like Alamol to say also. But where is the place to judge? The Ramah brings down in Siman Kuf Nun Vov Seif Zayin. We have this Ramah in page 108. Yesh oimrim. Look in page 108. It's a long Ramah. Small print. It's towards the top of the page. ויש אומרים, הודה בני העיר יכולים למחוס בבני עיר אחרס, היינו דווקא בדלקה פסיידה ללקוחוס. What you could tell people from a different city, from China, not to bring items, היינו דלקה פסיידה ללקוחוס. שמויכים כשאר בני העיר.
The fourth line of the Ramah.
What line?
Fourth line of the Ramah.
Again, ויש אומרים, עוד בני העיר יכולים למחוס בבני עיר אחרס, היינו דווקא בדלקה פסיידה ללקוחוס. שמויכים כשאר בני העיר. וגם סחורוסום אינו טויבו יויסר מבני העיר. But, two conditions you're allowed to. A better product. The guy is selling schwache leaves. You bringing a festa leaves. The guy is selling old shmatas. And you're bringing nice clothes to the city. No one will buy any more of the shmatas. Mitzvah to bring. What? Klal Yisrael, I'm a shubah to this person? Or you want to give a better price? ובלבד שיהיו הלקוחס ישראלים. You're selling it for Jewish people. So we try to protect the Jewish people. But if you want to sell it to Goyim, then we don't have this kula. But I want to learn together with you this kula of the Ramah, a loop in the whole parsha of Yerilum Nusi Shel Chaveiroi. You're selling it in a better price. The mocker of this is a rimigash. The rimigash in Bobe Basrich of Aleph Dibra Maschil Marchikim. I want to read his lotion. Loi kol kamine de metaken nafshei umafsid lechol bnei maseh. We'll take care of him and the city loses. He sells for him, old-fashioned store. A gemara costs $100. You want to bring ois v'odo. Or you want to bring cheaper stuff. Or a bigger selection. You want to buy a big store, a Tesco. I don't know how they call it.
Or an internet business that has no store.
Right. Right. The guy could just click in his house. All of them, right? But I'm explaining where is the loop. Where is one of the loops to let us to run the world? The lashon of the Rimigash is, the lashon of the Rimigash, lav kol kamine, the metaken nafshei, umafsid lechol bnei maseh. Hilkach, kevon de ike arvoche leloikhim, lav kol kamine de moichrim, the metaken lenafshei, umafsid leachrine. The Goyen in Sifkot Lamen brings a raya from the Sugya and Gittin. It's not the time now. But his raya is that the Mishnah says, and Sukkah, and later we'll go to the raya. Now listen carefully. Even that the Ramah paskins like that, and it's a Rimigash, the Ramban says you're not allowed to. The Ramban Bobe Basra Daf Chof Beis even that is cheaper, he's not allowed to bring it from a different city. Okay, this is the halacha. I want to go to the next step of the Lomdus. Frag the Welt. Now that we know this kula, that if I'm helping the city, I'm allowed to. I could start with one question. Maybe I'll start because I see people have this question. It's not a question. So why the Ramah did not let to sell the cheaper Rambam? Rabbi Yosef, why you can't sell the cheaper Rambam? Saving everyone a whole golden arendel. No. He's saving the Yidden. He's saving the Yidden, Rav Elephant. He's saving the Yidden. What? So the guy will make money. So what? Right. What? So the answer is two answers. One answer, what Rabbi Yosef said before, the guy was not doing it for making money, he was doing it to cut. But more from that, Even if you're allowed to fix the price, it's only if you're not breaking the market. If you're underpricing the price for breaking the market, you're not allowed to. Again, belomdis, why? Why? The Mefarshim explain the world has to have a mahalach. Why? Why? So what if you sell at the market? I'm gaining. I'm getting a cheaper coffee. But I want to leave it. Here is the shaila. In the case that we said in the Ramah that you're allowed to, listen what the Lomdim are clearing. There's a big argument in the Beis Dins. But if I do it cheaper, I shut him down. I'm allowed to or not? If we could add two questions together, you understand? We had a shaila if I'm allowed to open a store. The answer is in the same city I'm allowed to. Outside city I'm not allowed to. Even when I'm allowed to, some shittas hold that I'm not allowed to close them down. Machlekes. Some shittas hold I'm allowed to close them down. Some shittas hold I'm not allowed to close them down. Now we have the two shailas coming together. So we have a rimigash that said I'm allowed to come from a different city because I'm at a cheaper price. Normally I'm not allowed to come from a different city. I'm allowed to come. So dear, when I'm coming from a different city, the heter was for the same city. No heter for someone from a different city. If I'm cutting the price and I'm helping the Klal Yisrael, I'm allowed to. But now what happens? I'm in the same city. I'm allowed to. But a lot of shittas hold that if I shut him down, I'm not allowed to. But if I'm doing the cheap and I will shut him down, I'm allowed to or not allowed to?
If he able to do it cheap.
What?
If he also able to do it cheap.
I can't hear.
If he also able to do it cheap.
No, for sure not. Obviously not.
Why not?
Why not? Because I'm importing from China and he's not. Again, I want to explain. You're asking a good question, but I want to explain what happens here. And this is Be'etzem. I will only start it, but you will learn it over the week. It's two sugyas here that are clashing, and the lumdis is starting to come out. Yeah, but I want to explain if it's totally. Meaning to say, we have one shaila. We know. I will explain the halachas. Piske halachas. I'm allowed to open a store if I live in the same city, in the same neighborhood. I'm not allowed to open a store if I live in Halacha Aleph. Halacha Beis, in the same city I'm allowed to open a store, but we said Machlekes Rachroinim or Rishonim, if I shut him down, if I'm allowed to open a store or not. Lama Zogen it's mutter, maybe it's also. Lama Zogen it's also. Now, the halacha is that from a different city I'm not allowed to come, but if I'm lowering the price, I'm allowed to come. Not shut him down. Again, I have a store of fish. If I live in the same street, if I live in 13th Avenue, I'm also allowed to open a store in 13th Avenue. Anyway, people come from the street. I'm just explaining. But if I live in Monsey, I can't open a fish store. Again, today it's different, but that is the halacha. But if the store will take down the prices in Borough Park, I'm allowed to. No one was shutting no one down. Now is the halacha that even if I live in the same street, but if I shut him down by opening my store, no one will buy by him, I'm not allowed to. What it be, I'm living in the same neighborhood, I want to open a store, I will shut him down, but I'm also bringing down the price. And I'm not even doing, for me it's only worth it, I'm bringing from China stuff. I'm allowed to, I'm not allowed to. Dahainu, what? Yeah, but so what is the lumdus? I will explain. We are clearing, what is this halacha that Chazal let me to bring down, normally I'm not allowed to open if I live in a different city. But if I'm taking down the price, Chazal let me to come. If the pshat is that halacha overcomes the halacha of Paskes L'chiyusi, so in the same neighborhood is no Paskes. In a different city is Paskes. Cheapening the price, we don't care about Paskes. So if that is the pshat, could be, even if I live in the same neighborhood and I will shut him down, also is not issue to raise the price. Or no. To take down the price only led to people to come from a different city. But to shut the price, it doesn't let. Why I'm saying that, it's late, so let me just finish. Why I'm saying that, we'll go back to the case of the leaves. If we will say that when I'm fixing the price, now, I want to explain, the whole idea if these leaves, if they will sell it close to the price of the lady, so there's no point to invest in the leaves. So if we'll say that when I'm helping the city, I'm allowed to shut someone down, so b'meila I'm allowed to open the store if they leaves, even though I will shut the lady down, because I'm helping Klal Yisrael. I'm giving a good product. What? That I'm saying, what Rav Moshe will pass, and I'm not sure. What? You know, what? Right. Okay, maybe we'll stop here. So, Rabbi say, we'll stop here. What? I think I say like this. What I understood from the poskim that I spoke today, again, I'm saying I don't want no one to be mekabel. I said it's mamish. You could be a rosh or yered lechaye, but I understood from the poskim. You know, Rabbi say, give me 3 minutes. I want to say 3 or 4 piskei halachas. I understood from the poskim that if you're not undering the price of normal, you're allowed to, even if the other person cannot come down to this price. Now, the main shaila is what everybody wants to say. For example, I don't want to say it wrong. The poskim want to say, Rabbi say, it's a svara. There's not enough time to go into it. If you're allowed to offer workers a better price, I'm speaking about now Jewish workers, to come to work by you. They hold that you're allowed to. By Jewish, a person doesn't belong to no one, and he has a right to get offers to get a better job. A person has a right to get better jobs, to change his insurance, to change his medical bills. He has a right to get better prices. Again, not by cutting the market, but he's allowed to. He doesn't belong to you. A person doesn't belong to someone. And while a person doesn't belong to someone, especially in our days, when you start to work in high-tech, you're waiting for the next person to take you. They make so much contracts with you, don't leave. Because everyone knows that you're looking to leave. If that is the market, they don't belong to you, especially if they're Yisrael, and Memele you're allowed to. But we'll stop here. It's really late.